Shadows podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Mosby. Join me as I dive into powerful stories of resilience and strength. In each episode, I sit down with guests who have faced similar journeys of coercive control, financial manipulation, and personal invasion. Together, we uncover the shadows, share our experiences, and inspire others to reclaim their lives. Tune in, listen, and be a part of the community that stands tall against the forces that seek to control us.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this edition of Unveiling Shadows. Where I'm going to dive down a little deeper into this targeted individual handbook, combating gang stalking. There's a bunch of other stuff in here. I want to review in this targeted individual handbook electronic harassment, direct energy weapons, also DEW. Proof exists how it functions. That is true. There are many articles about direct energy warfare. What are microwave/directed energy weapons? How do they work and how are they used? So it says here, precisely modulated microwaves radiation is used to influence brain function. Human behavior and reactions can be entirely controlled by using pulse-modulated microwaves, EMF, radiation. Pulse-modulated microwaves are useful as they are a carrier for mind control signals, as they are able to pass through the skull, which is rather resistant to low-level EMF. Microwave mind control, and I guess they referenced a Tim Rifat, R-I-F-A-T, electromagnetic fields. It was found when microwaves were used to fire these signals at victims' brains, they experienced the moods, behavior, and the psychological states carried by the signals. That's convenient. We'll make you cry today. We'll give you this signal. This meant that by mimicking natural brain frequencies, the human brain could be controlled remotely by use of extremely low frequency broadcasts carried by pulse-modulated microwave beams. ELF, pulse-modulated microwave remote mind control technology. It is now possible to broadcast mind control commands directly into the brain by using the use of microwave beams. All that is needed is a catalog of every specific brain frequency for each mood, action, and thought. Beam me up, Scotty. Not really. These people are crazy. Particular excitation potential is the broadcast by pulse-modulated microwave transmitter. This pulse-modulated microwave beam has the ELF excitation potential frequency imprinted upon it. It was found that each behavioral setting in humans had a distinctive frequency. There was one for anger, suicide, hysteria, trauma, serial killing, paranoia, and lust. Wow. I'm not sure what to say. It just gets sicker and sicker as I do more research. Okay, we're going to look at these non-lethal microwave weapons. So at a frequency of 4.5 hertz, you can induce paranoia. At 6.6 hertz, you can induce depression/suicide. At 8 hertz, animals fall asleep. At 11 hertz, manic behavior or anger. At 25 hertz, you can cause blindness if aimed at the head, heart attack if aimed at the chest. Other frequencies cause hysteria, trauma, lust, murder, and cancer, and may all be induced. Wow. Cabal operatives have sophisticated millimeter wave scanners to look through the victim's walls so that they can see the targets in their homes. Pulse-modulated microwaves are regularly directed at the victim's brains, while other people in their homes are oblivious of what's going on. Which is why it's hard to explain this to your family members, because they're not the ones who are being targeted, but you are. And then they are calling you crazy, delusional, paranoid, or they're putting you into a mental institution, label you as schizophrenic. It's not. None of this has. How many mental illnesses did you know in like the 1950s? Hardly any. or very little until they started doing these programs. Some of these direct energy weapons are through the wall, TTW in nature. These devices or similar ones are currently being used on citizens in North America and other NATO nations. It is likely that the perpetrators are using radar/millimeter wave technology similar to the ones used in airports to pinpoint a person's location in a building and assist with aiming other DEWs at people. So that could be rich state-sponsored terror campaigns, the hidden evil on page 38. There's your reference. Torture. The torture that they're trying to inflict is physical, mental, and psychological. Physical pain due to the ICT implants plus non-lethal weapons. Direct pain in the body around the clock that tends to get worse and more severe due to the ICT implants or other kind of transmitting devices, often labeled by targeted individuals as non-lethal weapons. Direct energy weapons, DEWs, electronic frequency, EMF, or simply radiation. Pain in the spinal cord or back, lethargic and aching pains. Pain in the back of the head, the cerebellum, or various regions responsible for memory and imagination. So my friend and I call it when people forget what they're saying and they all of a sudden go, forgot what I was saying. We call that when they switch them on neutral. We call that neutral mode because they forget like mid-sentence or they forget what you told them 20 minutes ago or 2 weeks prior. They just can't remember. So we call that the neutral mode. Pain in the amygdala or pain in the limbic system, pain in the forehead and frontal lobe induced shattered or slurred speech. Cooked brain, slightly heated of the brain to induce synthetic emotion states or stress disorders. ELF waves can also cause depression or stress turned at 6.6 hertz. Electroshocks in the brain, zaps, and mild shocks, involuntary body movements caused by nervous system shocks and attacks, pain in the chest, palpitations, and adrenal rushes. So that's when people get hot and they're telling you, oh, it's just a hormonal balance. You're going through menopause. You're getting a hot flash. No, that's not what's happening. Toothache, gum bleeding, and pain in gums or teeth or in jaw and glandular regions. Mild heart attacks or slowed heartbeats, panic attacks, and chronic anxiety and fast-paced heartbeats. Pain in vital organs, liver, stomach, heart, lungs, eyes, genitals, amongst other places. Itching eyes, leading to tears and red eyes. Beams like a pinprick or irritation. Food is poisoned, contaminated by evil perps in food stores or restaurants, etc. Air around your nostrils heated or lacking oxygen. Electrosexual rapes during sleep or while awake, probably with ICT implants, unnatural genital stimulation or swelling. So the image of these microwave radiation is pulsed into the house. Abuse of microwave weapons against civilians inside their homes. Microwave into the apartment and the antenna for radiating microwaves in the flower box. Modified satellite dish for radiating microwaves. Microwave magnetronic device torturing from the briefcase in a car. And this is why so many neighbors' homes are setting up these using technology and for targeted individuals. Okay, so I had this car outside my house I had this Lexus SUV outside my apartment complex when I first moved in. I knew exactly what it was, and I called the city to have it towed. It took them 45 days to come and get it after 4 phone calls and emails. And then the car just mysteriously ended up on the other side of my apartment because there are 2 sides to it, right? And so it looks just like these vehicles. You can see this little diagram here. You can see where they're parking the car. So if you have a car that's been parked by you and nobody wants to seem to come and get it, well, the city's part of it. So, or the apartment complex. Who knows who's been paid at this point? I don't think that way. So it takes me a hard time to adjust to when I read this stuff, relating my similar experiences back to it, because it's just that effed up. Okay, note, neighbors are told it is non-lethal technology, but non-stop attacks, which many report lead to slow kill from ongoing radiation. The efforts are overseen from operation centers via real-time satellite surveillance, which we already know. There's like more than 85 satellites that track everybody 24/7. Military and intelligence agencies have developed frightful electronic weapons in black budget projects the last decade. These weapons based on radio waves are used to disable, to present pain and torture, to drive into suicide, schizophrenic, or criminal behavior. This is done by cooking / radiating body parts, letting a victim hear voices, reading the mind, etc., through walls and from a distance. You can go to www.stopeg.com for more information on that. The new generation of electronic weapons is capable of burning and cooking humans, destroying, exploding body tissue, or causing heart attacks. This is all possible from large distances, hundreds of meters, and through walls. These weapons are now 2008. This was in 2008, apparently it was written. Well, now you can imagine how far technology has come since then. Being used at a large by secret services to eliminate people, incapacitate, drive into suicide, insanity, criminal behavior, or are just used to cause heart failure, brain damage, etc. They replace knife, bullet, poison, and car accidents for, direct energy warfare. Why not? It's simple. It's less messy. Nobody's going to ask so many questions. If there's a bullet and a gun involved, then you got to go do some research. Instead, all the while, we're paying for all of this through our taxpayer dollars. Okay, so here are some examples. Heated body, feeling sick, like having the flu, headaches that come and suddenly disappear, stinging sensations like a fly or mosquito, blurred vision, irresistible coughing, very serious diarrhea, heart attack / cramps, kidney pain, excessive burping, excessive farting, stomach pain, stomach bubbling, intestinal cramps, pain in legs, pain in the ankles, heel muscles, reduced strength in hands, aging the body, because that's what it will do. There are 5 types of technology being used in the targeting. Smart meters are the number 1, 2 microwave satellites, 3 cell towers, 4 drones, 5 portable units. Number 1, the smart meters. The smart meters are readily controlled by a remote location, which allows the government criminals to harass an individual with plausible deniability. No face, no case. This is one of the first steps taken against a new targeted individual. The microwave signal is transmitted through all of the household wiring. If you are exposed to microwaves coming from all directions, the first possible solution is to switch off certain circuit breakers at the breaker box. I did that, and I ended up blowing up my oven because I had to shut everything off. Number 2, satellites. The first microwave attack satellites were launched under President Reagan's Star Wars program, 1987. These satellites were designed to disable ICBM nuclear missiles during the beginning phase. Tracking frequencies used are 600 to 3,750 megahertz, and the attack signal is 3,920 - 3,935 megahertz. FCC frequency allocation tables confirm the use of these frequencies. These satellites and frequencies are now being used against targeted individuals. The tracking signal has an accuracy better than 1 centimeter. That's very tiny. And the GPS coordinates can be relayed to a cell tower or drone for additional targeting. These tracking signals come from the satellite that is directly overhead. You can't see them. if they're so far up, or sometimes when the drones are white and it's clear out, you can't really see them because the sun reflects off them. It may give like a little bit of a spark. So you can see it for just like a millisecond and then it goes away. Generally, it takes about 30 to 50 feet of concrete and steel or packed earth to shield against the satellite microwave beam, which means we'll have to all, create an underground compound or something to get away from this. Tall skyscrapers can provide a temporary shelter from the satellite targeting. The technology does have its limits, which is good news for TIs. A Faraday cage that is properly designed and properly grounded can block some of the microwaves. However, improvements can be made by using AC voltage grounding on the Faraday cage, which will consume the narrow beam and take it to an external ground rod. Please do not attempt such modifications unless you know what you're doing. I did that. I was redoing something and gave myself shock therapy by accident. The satellite tracking and Vercator microwave weapon uses a narrow beam at a low voltage of about 10 millivolts and high amps. All right, cell phone towers. Magnetronic wave signal generators have been installed on many cell towers in urban areas. These devices can be identified as the vented enclosure boxes on a cell tower. These magatrons become very hot while operating and can be seen on an infrared camera photograph. You can rent an infrared camera at Home Depot. Typically, frequencies are 2,400 megahertz and 1,550 megahertz. The USAF criminals have started synchronizing the cell towers to automatically follow a specific point on your body, so that as you drive down the freeway, it will automatically transfer the next cell tower and continue to hit the same location on your body. Use the hand technique to identify which cell tower. I don't know what use the hand technique is. I think that means you have to flip them the bird. We encourage all TIs to pay attention to the construction and repairs at cell towers. Get the vehicle number, license plate, and company name of anyone that is working on a cell tower. Please send this information to us. If you are convinced that your neighbors are directing microwaves at you, please consider that it is probably coming from a cell tower that is 1 or 2 miles away. Wave beam can travel straight through many houses. It is possible to use your fingers to feel the direction of the microwave beam. Hold your arm out with your palm facing you in the direction of the beam, and you can feel a pop in your fingers' joints when this beam hits them. This will usually direct you to the cell tower where it's coming from. Interesting. I do feel like there are some neighbors that have been paid, especially, in times of despair where the inflation and prices and interest rates are so high that the dirty deeds can be done dirt cheap, and they, are being told something that it's not going to hurt you, right? Okay, number 4, drones. This also includes commercial aircraft of varying sizes. Small planes especially are used to fly over one's residence and beam the TI with scalar waves, as well as helicopters, which are employed to tell after one in urban centers, for example. Yeah, I had 3 fly over me 11 times one day. A good source to track the flight paths of aircraft to determine if one's residence is targeted and by whom is planefinder.net or flight radar. Okay, number 5, portable units. These small microwave generators are used to harass targeted individuals that find temporary cover inside tall buildings or underground shelters. They come in small box enclosures about the size of a small microwave oven. You can look that up at Richard Lighthouse's website, which is www.rlighthouse.com/technology. He has some stuff there. So what particularly is intended through the use of microwave/DW weapons? When firing microwave beams through walls at one specific target, every material in the way of the microwave beam modifies the intensity and frequency of the beam. So basically, if you've got microwave oven, you've got your LED lights, you're being hit with the microwave beam that's transmuting through all of these other electronic devices. I told my friend yesterday on the phone, I said it's basically like they're creating a spider web effect where they're hitting you from so many angles. I personally use one of those fly zappers or the insect zappers that's handheld, and I walk around my house and I throw their signals off. It's unfortunate that we have to spend so much money trying to defend ourselves when we never consented in the first place. It pisses me off, is what it does. Okay, anyway. Since precise frequencies and intensities are needed for mind control, very sophisticated microwave arrays and computer programs had to be developed so that the microwave beam could be changed in response to the materials which lay between the target and the weapon as the victim moved around the house. To do this, the reflectivity and refractivity of the materials between victim and weapon had to be analyzed in real time and fed to a computer, which could change the microwave array in concert with the changing environment between victim and weapon, and as the targeted move around his or her home. It's like doing a dance, but not wanting to dance with the person that they're, wanting you to dance with. Secondly, there had to be an automatic interpreter. If another person walked in front of a beam, the victim needed to be driven mad or disabled without anyone else being aware that he or she was being targeted. The technology for this was very complex, but eventually it was perfected. Microwave mind control, Tim Reifet. Beaming the excitation potential of a particular pathological mental state at your brain while you are at home. Certain brain states, emotions can be induced. So microwave DEWs will produce dizziness, burning, headaches, eye problems, damaged nervous systems and internal organs, will create heart attacks and inability to concentrate. A common microwave oven can be turned into a DEW by modifying the appliance to operate with the door removed. It can be positioned against the wall to attack someone on the other side. You can also build a weapon for a few $100s that will employ a more focused attack. State-sponsored terror campaigns, The Hidden Evil. That's also on page 33 or 38. So I don't really want to know how to create their weapons because I'm not planning on torturing anybody. I just want to know how to get rid of it and how to get it to stop. And I think that's going to take a whole lot of us people speaking out and signing some sort of petition to go against all of our governments. And it's not going to be easy, but it needs to be done if we want it to stop. So we're going to show you a diagram. A microwave oven has been converted into a weapon with an output of 800 watts of microwave energy. A large percentage of energy reaches the second room. As the radiation passes through sequential walls, the power level will drop but can remain at dangerous levels. So there's the diagram. Then it says, even levels have been reduced by passing through 3 walls, people still can become negatively affected by continuous radiation exposure over long periods of time. The intelligence operatives can place sound and speech in the targeted victim's brain. This intercerebral hearing is used to drive the victim mad, as no one else can hear the voices transmitted into the brain of the target. Microwave mind control. Transmission of auditory data directly into the target's brain using microwave carrier beams is now common practice. Now remember, this is coming from material that's was done in 2008. I don't think they've dated this targeted individual's handbook for a while. I'll have to verify that, and I'm not even sure where my friend got it. Transmission of auditory data directly into the target's brain using microwave carrier beams is now common practice. Instead of using excitation potentials. One uses a transducer to modify the spoken word into the ELF audiograms that are then superimposed on the post-modulated microwave beam, which causes the targeted individual to hear the voices transmitted into the brain. It's used as a clandestine assassination tool. It sure is. If the targeted individual needs to be made temporarily ill, microwave beams containing the signal the brain gives off during a vicious bout of the flu can be fired at the victim. This causes the target to display all the symptoms of flu, even though they have not caught the virus. An example of this is how the 5G network is coordinated with the manufactured coronavirus or similar pandemics to dialectically engineer the cabals. Similar pandemics to dialectically engineer the cabal's plans through creative destruction. Can also use low-level microwaves to cause mental and physical confusion that leads to illness. Beaming microwaves at victims makes them fatigued, damages their immune system, causes neurological damage that affects their thinking and ability to carry out tasks, induces premature aging, cancer, and cataracts. Can also use low-level microwaves to cause mental and physical confusion that leads to illness. I already read that part, sorry. Heating the victim to death by microwave cooking is caused by increasing their field of intensity of the radiation to cause local hotspots in the victim's eyes and gallbladder, which have poor circulation so cannot carry away the heat. Radiating the optic nerve of a victim with the same signal that is sent to the brain by this nerve causes the nerve tissue to overload. In this way, subversives can be blinded by the intelligence community without them knowing what has occurred. That's why if you do a heavy metal cleanse, and I suggest you do it for 30 to 45 days, and then let me know if that heavy metal cleanse has worked for you or not. I would love to see that in the comments below. I am a victim. I use a recipe off of Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop Lab. It's called Heavy Metal Detox. You can look at that one. The cost of all of the ingredients for 30 days is about $40 to $50. It's cheap. Well, like I said, the fact that we have to spend money doing this just pisses me off. Okay, in this way, okay, so we already did that. You can't really see these pictures very well, but you can see people being microwaved. Microwave weapon. Okay, neurological research has found that the brain has specific frequencies for each voluntary movement called preparatory sets. When you pick up an object, there is a specific preparatory set for this action. By firing at your chest a microwave beam containing the ELF signals given off by the heart, this organ can be put into a chaotic state, the so-called heart attack. Paralysis can be induced in the target by the use of this method of broadcasting preparatory sets encoded on microwave beams. The pulse-modulated microwave beam carrying the ELF signal, which is identical to the one in the motor neuron center of the brain, is used to jam the victim's motor coordination. Synthetic telepathy, remote thought reading, implantation of thoughts. So I'm going to go through this one as well. So it says the latest advance in The latest advance in electronic mind control were discussed in my previous articles in Nexus for those who missed the ESP of espionage. This equipment uses special types of microwave beams called masers. These are the laser equivalent of microwave beams. The maser beams have been used to develop something called synthetic telepathy. or telepathy. This is the ability to read people's minds from a distance. Electronic scanning of victims' brains by monitoring the electromagnetic emissions from the people's brains using, amongst other things, the brain waves as measured on an EEG to read the victim's subvocalized thoughts. Synthetic telepathy detects the 15 hertz, 5 milliwatt auditory cortex brain emissions that are linked with the excitation potentials in the brain associated with subvocalized thought. New technology involving low-frequency microwaves and RF has enabled devices to be built which can scan through walls and look inside people's bodies like X-rays. This enables security personnel to see a target in his own home and track him or her throughout the house. Further to this, being able to see inside the victim's head would allow computer-controlled targeting of specific brain centers in the victim's brain, even when he or she were walking around the house. So basically, you can do whatever you want in your house, but the perps are still going to see exactly what you're doing, even if it's sitting on the toilet. Lovely. I don't really like that idea. A scan of the specific brain emissions gives off when the victim subvocalizes using an array of pulsed frequency masers fired at the specific brain centers of the subverse. He or she resides in his or her home and enables the victim to be scanned. By firing an array of ELF pulsed modulated masers, which scan up and down the window of frequency emissions given off by the subvocalized thought, interference effects can be measured in the maser beam. The victim's ELF brain emissions will interact constructively or destructively with the pulsed frequency maser carrying the ELF in the ELF window associated with the subvocalized thoughts. If we fire an array of pulsed masers which are out of phase with each other, extraneous noise can be filtered out in the digital domain. Since the converging ELF modulated masers are being affected by the low-level emissions in the victim's brain, the shifts in the ELF pulse signals going into the subversive's brain can be detected. A simplistic version of this would be the laser beam shown at the window of a person that is being bugged. The vibration in the window causes modulations in the lasers that can be converted into electronic signals and hence into sound. Which that makes sense. In this way, the subvocalized thought in the victim's brain can be read. Having already built up a library of excitation potential signatures for differing words and groups of words, and associated computers can begin to decode the emission signatures into word streams. In this way, the subvocalized thoughts of the victim can be stored in the memory of a supercomputer and analyzed to give a readout of what the target is thinking. Using ELF audiograms carried by the single post modulated maser, subvocalized thoughts can be placed in the victim's brain. This enables the cabal, synthetic telepathy operations, the ability to enter into conversations with the subversive, to drive him or her mad, or to bring up keywords which will get the victim thinking about the information they wish to find out. Visual cortex excitation potentials can also be broadcast into the victim's brain so that illusionary images can be projected into the brain to drive them mad or program them to commit suicide. And that's a lot of information that we have covered today. It's very disturbing that people are spending our taxpayer dollars to to control us because we will not comply. I'm still not going to comply. I won't comply today. I didn't comply yesterday, and I certainly will not comply with you tomorrow. It's just not going to happen. It's just not the person that I am. And I hope that this gives other people courage to stand up against the cabal and start speaking up and sharing the message about being a targeted individual. And for those TIs of you out there, I want you to stay strong. You've got this.
Thank you for listening to the Unveiling Shadows podcast. I hope today's episode has shed light on the experiences that too often remain hidden. If you or someone you know has a story to share, please reach out to me. Remember, you're not alone and your voice matters. Follow me on social media and subscribe to the podcast for more inspiring stories. Until next time, stay strong and keep unveiling the shadows.